Britain won World War II. The parades happened, the flags waved, and then the government informed its citizens they could not have bread. This is the twist episode in our series examining what happens to your money when your country loses a war. Because Britain demonstrates a principle that most victorious nations prefer to disregard. You can win the war and still go bankrupt. During the war, America supplied Britain with food, fuel, and military material through Lend-Lease. This was aid, not a loan. Then on August 21st, 1945, 12 days after Japan surrendered, President Truman terminated Lend-Lease with no transition period. The supply ship stopped. Britain had to purchase everything on the international market using dollars it did not possess. British factories had converted to military production. Exports collapsed to negligible levels. But imports of food, coal, and petroleum remained essential. The balance of payments deficit was catastrophic. By late 1948, the sterling area's dollar gap exceeded £200 million. Britain was consuming its reserves just to eat. So Britain borrowed from its former colony. In December 1945, the government signed the Anglo-American Loan Agreement. $3.75 billion at 2% interest, approximately $51 billion in current value. The conditions were punitive. America demanded that Britain open its markets to international competition and make the pound convertible into dollars within 1 year. That convertibility requirement triggered a speculative run on the pound in the summer of 1947. Britain was forced to suspend convertibility after just 5 weeks. The experiment in currency liberalization collapsed because the underlying economic fundamentals could not support it. And here is where canned meat enters the economic story. While Britain exhausted its reserves, American Spam sustained the Allied world. Hormel shipped over 150 million pounds during the war. No refrigeration required. It survived tropical heat and Arctic cold. It reached British households, American military units, and the Soviet Union, where Nikita Khrushchev acknowledged that without Spam, the Soviet army would have starved. When Lend-Lease ended and dollar reserves ran dry, Spam remained. It was inexpensive. It was shelf-stable. It did not require imported ingredients costing foreign currency. The victor ate canned American pork because the victor could not afford bread. Then came September 18, 1949. The government devalued the pound by 30% overnight. The exchange rate fell from $4.03 to $2.80. Citizens went to bed with one rate and woke up with another. Their savings contracted by nearly a third while they slept. Devaluation is what a government does when it can no longer defend its currency. The pound was overvalued. Exports were uncompetitive. The dollar gap was depleting reserves. So the government reduced the value of every citizen's money to make British goods cheaper abroad. It worked for exports. It devastated purchasing power. Every imported commodity became more expensive. Food, fuel, medicine. That is the implicit taxation of devaluation. You paid at the grocery store, not on a tax return. Here is the detail that crystallizes the absurdity. Britain introduced bread rationing in July 1946 after the war had ended. Bread had remained unrationed throughout the entire conflict. Germany, the defeated nation, terminated food rationing before Britain did. The victor consumed less bread than the vanquished. Spam filled the nutritional void. When bread was rationed and domestic meat production was insufficient, canned pork from America constituted the difference between adequate nutrition and hunger for thousands of British families. Rationing in Britain did not conclude completely until 1954, 9 years after the victory. The consequences extended beyond food. Britain relinquished its empire because it could no longer afford to maintain it. Indian independence in 1947. African decolonization followed. The power that governed a quarter of humanity surrendered its territories because the treasury was empty. But the Spam persisted. In Hawaii, it became Spam musubi, grilled slices on rice wrapped in seaweed. In South Korea, Surplus military spam became beauty jiggy. Army-based stew, still popular today. The canned meat that sustained 3 armies transcended its origins as emergency rations and became a cultural staple. Britain completed repayment of the Anglo-American Loan on December 29, 2006. 61 years after the war concluded, the country recovered, the empire dissolved, and the citizens who saved through the crisis financed the recovery through devaluation, inflation, and a decade of austerity. Victory has a price. It simply arrives on a delayed schedule. The country got its future. The savers paid for it. I'm aiFrado. I made this in a basement on computer equipment from 2019. I do have a human collaborator, so it can't all be completely crazy. Want more crazy facts? Stick around.